Cheers.
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 Yay, thank you so much
Thank you
for
so much.
bringing us into your beautiful healing space, and we're so excited. Hi guys, I'm Hannah and this is fabulous Lacey.
And today we have fabulous.
Hello. Welcome to Awakening with Angela.
We're so excited. Angela and I met through a mutual friend and we did a real estate transaction together. And she was one of the most fun people to work with. Actually, the people that are the most fun to work with, because I don't want to exclude anyone else that is a mindful person to work with, but when people are really aware of what they want and that there's other energy going on in the world, that just makes all the difference. And it was so fun being on this adventure with you. And now we're here in this beautiful space.
You're the realtor that helped her find this house?
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
And the best massage I've ever had.
Yeah, hands down.
I mean,
couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
thank you.
Healing. And what I loved so much about it was not only just a feel-good massage, but a feel-good massage and my total soul-sage. But really, she uses the word soul-sage, and I just love that because it really is like a full, holistic type of healing. And like I really felt safe and comfortable, and especially coming from a role of like, I'm your realtor and now I'm going to be super vulnerable and share with you all my shadows. Mm-hmm. That was a little scary for me, mm-hmm. but I felt very held and protected and safe. And so we love her. We're so excited to introduce you.
My favorite part of the massage was actually after the massage. Well, the massage was amazing. So it's hard to say favorite, but I really appreciated the time that you took on this couch to sit and share and integrate kind of the energy and what you felt and kind of the deeper emotional, spiritual layers that were also at work when you were doing the body work too and the energy work. So that was really beautiful and was such a gift. So it's nice that we're in the home where you brought her to and found, and then this couch I feel like was a big part of my experience with you too. So it's all coming together to share more, to share with more people who you are, what you do, why you do it, and your story behind it, so that more people can come and experience your magic.
This is where the integration happens. So tell us about yourself. Like how did this come to be your profession and your mission, your life's work?
Wow. I mean, that is actually a really in-depth answer because this is something that I've been working with my whole life. I can remember being very small, like a toddler, and climbing up on my mom's back to massage her. And my grandmother, who, this is actually her couch.
Aww.
Yeah. And they've both passed on, so they're, spiritual helpers now. She had, my grandmother, the strongest hands. We actually have, like, her hands look exactly like my hands. And she would just come up behind you and, like, squeeze your shoulders, and I mean, like, everything would melt. And so, I mean, it's a gift. It really is a gift. And it's something that I just love to share, like a gift that I love to share. And the reason that I think I was climbing up on my mom's back is because she was a chronic pain sufferer. And I just found what it meant to be in pain very early in life, and really how to relate to that pain, because a lot of times people have pain that can't be seen. And I feel like that is the most suffering space, is when it feels as though you're alone in that pain and that people can't legitimize it with you. That can be really, really challenging, and that's something that I've experienced myself. I've had a lot of injuries in my life. I've had physical injuries, I've had emotional injuries, and it's just, given me such a really beautiful insight, a very personal perspective on what it means to be in pain. And I just want to do anything I can to help people to feel better, to relieve suffering.
And did you feel supported in your pain?
No. I mean, to be honest, that was something that it took me a long time to learn, for one, how to be supported. That wasn't something that was modeled to me. And I feel like it's just part of our evolution too. You know, we're living in a really unique time, and people are really waking up to how to self-care. And I was directed at one point in my healing journey to get a massage, and it changed everything. And that was another time where I had a pretty significant accident. That was the first time that I had a really significant concussion. And I was going to a chiropractor and physical therapy after this slip and fall had happened. That was actually really like my feet went up over my head and I like landed on my neck.
So that was a slip. That wasn't the accident.
No, this was.
Wow.
Yeah. So that therapy process was very painful. And they put me on so many pharmaceuticals, and I was young, I was 17. And this chiropractor, he recommended that I get a massage because I kept coming in with so much pain from what I was trying to heal from. And that massage just changed everything. And it was like a light went on, and I was like, oh, wow, relaxation, you know? And then I started thinking, how could I help my mom with this? And I had kind of had an interest in massage, but there weren't like massage schools like there are now. It wasn't a normal thing at that time. And so to actually interact with a therapist like that and to feel the benefit of it, it just kind of rerouted me to go down that way.
How old were you at that time?
So by the time I was actually entering massage school, I was 21. And then I was really blessed because the school that I ended up going to was just incredible. Even at this point where massage schools are everywhere, it was just such an amazing education that they gave us. And the instructors were incredible, and they offered Reiki as an elective.
Wow.
Yeah. So those two skills have grown in unison. And
you're a Reiki Master 3? Mm-hmm. You're a Reiki Master 3 level as well.
Just
Master, that's, oh, yeah.
So for those who are listening who don't necessarily know what Reiki is, or maybe they think it's like some weird woo-woo thing where, oh God, you're a Reiki person, you know, because I know you've heard it before.
Oh, yeah.
I have too. What can you say about that modality that would be educational and also help people to understand what it is that they're receiving when you're infusing Reiki into the massage?
yeah, I mean, Reiki, first of all, it's a Japanese word. It means universal life force energy. And I feel like that just kind of dresses it down right there because there's energy all around us.
Totally.
Everything is energy. We are energy.
Yes.
And so it's really just a way of learning to hone the skill of interacting with that energy. And we all have this ability to sort of sense vibes.
Yes.
You know, you walk into a space and you can tell if this is kind of a vibe that you're into or you're not into. And this Reiki just opens up that ability on a deeper level. But it's something that we all have capacity for, you know? So Reiki, it's an amazing tool to learn how to interact in a spiritual way with the essence of who we really are. And, I say spiritual, but I mean, you can really look at it as it's energy.
Yeah,
So
like
it's
a spirit form, your spirit form, meaning
exactly.
spiritual, right?
Yeah.
And my experience is also, it's like light, working with light. If you think about like anywhere, if we're energy, and light is an essence of energy, dark is an essence of energy, without judgment for either one. For me, Reiki has been a modality to help lighten anything that feels dense. Lighten or bring to awareness or awaken, such as awakening with Angela is what you do, things that we may not have awareness over. And so I really appreciate the modality. In that way, it's like a flashlight or a guiding light to help discern and wake up parts of us or lighten up parts of us that maybe just the switch is off. And I know for me personally, when I was getting a massage with you, there was these things that got woken up that you were able to intuit. And then when you were able, and I could feel it in my body, but then you were able to translate to me what that looked like, what you were picking up on. And there was an aha after an aha after an aha, that once that became in my awareness, it became light, like the light switch went off and I could see it and I could resonate with it. Then I was able to move through that in an easier healing journey.
Yeah, and I mean that it's physics, what you're describing.
Exactly.
Because observing a process will change it.
Exactly.
And I mean, we are, as practitioners, just someone who is looking at the process of an individual. And then there's this intention for, my intention is always for my client's highest good. But Reiki it's pure light. Like you said, it can do no harm.
Yes.
And so it just begins unfolding. Like you're just witnessing the unfolding of this grace. And it is just so beautiful the deeper and deeper that you go with it.
I'm getting chills.
And it really is like, the more that you come to things within yourself, there's these higher states of consciousness that you awaken into. And the way I observe that is as if the third eye it's like a camera lens where the apertures are opening wider and wider. And so you're being able to perceive more and more as you have more clarity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's awesome. And so using this, and you got Reiki certified during massage school, did you have a clear vision from the start that you wanted to be a part of awakening humanity? Because that's been quite a while. What was the why when you got started, and has it evolved?
It's definitely evolved, but in a way, it has always been the same. It's just like we were just talking about, that sort of awakening into higher states of consciousness, me just realizing more and more of how interconnected we are, and then going through my own stages of awakening, and then really just seeing it in my clients. The really beautiful thing about being attuned to Reiki in massage school, and then I got a second attunement very soon after that. And at that time, the teacher said to me, you don't really need these attunements. You know that, right? And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, well, the stronger, or the more you use it, the stronger it'll get. And I really took that to heart. And so I was just using it, and it was incredible the way the energy taught me over the years.
Wow.
I would just be guided to change the position of my hands, and more messages came through, and the response that I got from clients. And so then it just encouraged me to open up, and I started being able to identify different patterns in my clients as they were coming. People coming with the same kind of like pain issues over and over again. But then as I saw them more and more and I got to know them better, then I was hearing about the difficulties in their lives. And then I would be able to see how there's a deeper thing that's going on here that's contributing to this pain and discomfort. And so then it put me in a place of bringing that woo-woo-ness into the open and telling people, there's another thing that we can try here. And then the results from that were just amazing. And so all along the way, that's things that I'm witnessing in other people. But then as that's happening, I'm also in my own process awakening to more of the, I don't know, like the responsibility. It just seems as though, we are meant to be here in service to one another, and that we are each other, and we deserve it, we're worthy of it.
So good.
The beautiful,
So good. Yeah.
The beautiful thing about Reiki is that as you're allowing it to flow through you to serve someone else, you're actually receiving the benefit back to you.
That's what I was
you're
just
also
thinking.
receiving it. And so when we are in service to each other, you get so much by giving.
Yes, totally.
And when we can get out of our own way, out of our own ego, and allow our soul to lead, then we just continue to want to serve, but we keep getting back from that. It's such a gift. It's so reciprocal.
So great. So you're awakening while you're awakening others.
Yes.
It's Awakening with Angela.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. So you have a very strong soul connection as well to other realms. And I know we talked about that moment in the car accident when this journey started to become part of your path. Would you mind sharing that with
Yeah, of
our
course.
community?
So I have to give a little bit of backstory so this makes some sense, but I've always been intuitive in some way. I learned to read tarot cards when I was like 12 years old, and that came very naturally to me. Aw.
Love it.
And so I've always had this sort of like, we can call it witchy, way about me. And so then Reiki comes in, and then I'm dabbling with using that where I'm working in spas and things like that. And I had grown to a point where I was interacting with more spiritual practitioners and different, artists and things like that. And it connected me with a group of people that that was when like silent discos were a new thing. And they invited me. They wanted me to come to the silent disco, and they were going to set me up in a separate space. They wanted me to teach Reiki and be offering Reiki. And so this was a really beautiful opportunity for me. And I got myself all packed to go to this event. And as I was leaving Galveston Island, a car made an illegal left turn, and they just drove right into me. And it was a very serious accident, and I was knocked out from the first hit, but I was hit a few times and got banged around. And so I ended up with a mild traumatic brain injury. And in that time, when I was unconscious, I was knocked out, and then when the car actually stopped, where it was stopped by a wrought iron fence, I like came to, and then I was immediately coming in and out of consciousness over and over again because I was in so much shock. And I'd actually broken my right thumb, which is really serious for a therapist. It was broken in 3 places. But at the time, I couldn't feel my body, and my hands were laying in a way that it looked like all of my fingers were broken. And in that like in and out experience, I had this vision. And it was as if I was seated at the kitchen table that I grew up at with having family dinners. And it was me and these other beings, and we were signing papers, and I could see them signing papers and moving the papers around. And so some sort of agreement was being made, some sort of change over there. And what you're referencing is that it took me years before this really came to light, what was going on there. But that's what's known as a walk-in. And it was basically another soul that was coming in to help to assist in this life experience. That there was generally what I understand is that the life path is so significant that it's important that it be taken over, or that there's a guide that comes in to assist the soul in continuing on.
Do you think you had a near-death experience?
I don't think I had a near-death experience, but I think that I was going through an extremely difficult time in my life, and I was coming in and out of suicidal ideation. There was a lot of suffering that was going on, and I think that my soul got very, very tired and weary, and I had been saying that I felt like I needed something to like wake me up, that I was, really having a hard time. And I feel like in some way, I was going the wrong way in life. And the universe just came in and it was like, okay, redirect. And so much shifted after that happened. I was so aware of the kind of things that I had experienced up until then that had made me into this like very empathic, intuitive person. But I wasn't able to begin really healing until that happened. And it was like everything it just sped up when that happened. Wow. And I just started shedding from there. And that is how that's like the walk-in soul is not as attached to that previous experience. And then it just turns into this more evolving movement.
Incredible. Do you feel like you had more access to the wisdom of that soul or your soul after that experience than you did before? Like, did those channels open up, or was it really more so just being guided by Reiki?
So when I came out of the experience of the accident and my thumb is broken and I can't massage, I had this moment where I just realized, well, I can't do massage without my thumb, but I can do Reiki without my thumb. And so I just was leaning in more to the energy work. And before that, I was very shifty of, do I want to be more in like sports medicine or do I want to go the spiritual route? Mm-hmm. And it just kind of put me there. And then I was living on Galveston Island, which is a very witchy, magical place with all kinds of awesome people and spirits. And I was going to drum circles, and I began being able to see the energy in a completely different way and channeling the energy with the drum circle and this really powerful infusions that were coming through me. So things just opened up in a way. And as soon as I realized that, it was, like I wanted more of it. So I was just breathing in more of it and really leaning more into what is it to embody my soul, to find out like who the authentic being is, and to understand that all of that before was conditioned self, and that I didn't have to bring that with me. So
powerful. Yeah. Is it very much like a one door closed and one door open? Mm-hmm. Like, do you think that the drumming and really tuning into sound vibration led you to doing the sound healing? Are you going to ask the same question? Of course you were.
I love you.
I love you too. I'm surprised we didn't say it at the exact same time.
I love it when stuff like that happens. So the sound therapy was actually going on before, but not as it accentuated more. It accentuated more of the safety to express self, and such a process of learning to become my own best friend and to, live from unconditional love. But this singing bowl in particular, this is actually something that I've inherited from my aunt. Mm. So this has been in
your family.
Yeah, this has been in my family since I was like 12. Wow. Was when she got that singing bowl, and so I kind of just grew up. She would let me play with it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Angela does sound healing too, amongst other things.
But you're correct though that there's something so powerful about the drumming. I mean, the drum it's like the heartbeat of life, and I mean it's so powerful, and I very much connect with that.
One of the things that I love about sound healing or drumming is that it does bring you into your sensory self, which allows the mind to shut down, which is mindfulness. And, you know, that's something that we all practice. And I know that you were sharing with me that you've done even a mindfulness-based stress reduction program to teach it. You do coaching for other people. It's really lovely how you've used all these different facets of healing in order to find this space of mindfulness, of being present now, and really allowing the mind to quiet and the heart to open. So do you want to share about...
And the energy to do its magic. Yeah.
The love that we all are.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it earlier, Lacey, when you were talking about, you know, really understanding how to get out of the way, you know, to not have the ego be the one that's leading. And that is really what allows the energy to be so potent, is because there's so much learning and practice and integrating that's gone on to not rid the ego, because that's not really possible, but to, you know, build an allyship with the ego. And then, yeah, I can be presence and I can allow life to flow through me. And it's just absolutely beautiful.
I had a teacher once say that the ego is the builder and the soul is the architect. And often that the ego, we're conditioned to believe that the ego is supposed to be the architect, and it kind of tries to be the driver, if you will. I think Big Magic, Elizabeth Gilbert, talks about fear. She's not allowing fear to be in the driver's seat. She's not even allowing it to be in the front seat. It has to be in the back seat, and it can't even touch the radio. And I think that fear and the ego go hand in hand oftentimes. And so, like, knowing where its place is and knowing who's leading it, and then allowing it to take those action steps or take it, it helps us to build our lives. It's super duper important. It's a beautiful part of who we are, but not when it overrides our soul voice.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, because so much of the work that I do centers around inner child healing, the perspective is more that that ego is like a little kid who's trying to drive. Yeah, and it's like, oh no, dear, like you don't drive, you know, but you can, you know, you can be here and watch me drive. And depending on how unruly that little kid is, you're right, maybe we do need to put them in the back seat or something like that. But it's building trust, building relationship with those inner selves, and giving them the right to say, you can sit here and, you know, well, let's see how this goes, you know.
And not like it's I always like to think of it too, like the perfect opportunity to recognize when something really expansive is about to happen. That inner voice might come in, the voice, the ego voice, or the voice that has limiting beliefs and might try to hold you back. Well, it's not an evil thing. It's scared and trying to keep you safe.
Right.
And so if you say, oh, no, it's fine, we can do this. And like you said, talk to it like a child and make sure it feels safe with this expansion, then it can go along. But when those limiting beliefs come in, I'm like, ooh, that's like a good sign that something is about to happen that's really extra special. And so let's lean into that. Let's make the ego mind feel safe. This brings me to my next question, which I wanted to ask you about because I loved that we talked about this. So Angela is going to be our special guest for our coffee and community gathering that we do once a month, and we invite the guest that was interviewed to come and share. And Angela had this really wonderful idea of using the word vulnerability, TEA. So, and having a vulnerability practice there and the importance of that. And I would love to hear your perspective on that because I think it's really a great one for people to hear.
Right. So I'm just reliving, what did I tell you?
Well, we talked about not having to make everything be ultra positive all the time and just being in the space of holding space for people.
Yeah. So it's this, for me, I feel that what is really needed in our world is for people to be able to embody their authentic self.
Absolutely.
And so we exist so much of the time in this sort of polished way. And especially in the New Age community, there's almost the seeming epidemic of toxic positivity where everybody's all love and light all the time. And, it's like that's sweet, but it's not very mature because
it's also not real.
right. It's like we are human, so we get to experience the full spectrum of emotions and feelings, and we want to be able to be present for all of that. And so I want to open a space, and I mean, that's really the intention of this space, is that people that come here, that you can feel safe to be yourself. And so the idea with vulnerability is to offer the opportunity for us to get together and just be witnessed. And in a way where we'll break off into small, 2 or 3 people at a time. And it's not a conversation. It's just, hey, what's been a really challenging thing that's been coming up for you recently? And just to be able to express whatever that is and to have other people just say thank you or I see you. And then in that witnessing, that's really where the change happens. Because that's what we need is this authentic mirroring. That's how we grow and evolve, is that those scared parts of us get to feel like, oh, I'm okay. I'm allowed to be here in this world as all of me.
And without being judged.
Exactly. To just be witnessed and allowed and appreciated, because when it really comes down to it, we are all each other. And so whatever's coming up for another person, if you look with compassion, that's something that you've experienced in some way. And if you haven't, and you know that someone else is suffering, then that only deserves more love, not less love.
Vulnerability allows us to drop into our heart space, and our heart space is so much more powerful than our mental mind. And there's such a power in allowing yourself to be seen, but being seen is scary for people.
Right. And because of that, part of this practice would also be to allow a positive message as well of what's, a really good thing that's been going on for you also. This yin yang.
It reminds me of something we do at home, where we ask, what is your rose today? And what is your thorn? And then what's your rosebud? So it's like this whole, gamut of the most beautiful thing, the most painful or hard thing, and then what you're looking forward to.
That's beautiful. I mean, this idea actually is coming out of when I was a teenager, and I didn't grow up in a way where we were doing things like that at the kitchen table. That's awesome that you do that with your family. And I had the opportunity where I was over at a friend's house, and they did something like that. And it was the parents basically saying, everybody go around and say, like, what was the hardest part of today and what was the best part of today. And I was amazed. And I got chills, and I was like, this is so sweet. And so that I feel like should just be commonplace for us,
Yeah.
I think it's important to do those things in safe spaces, and you've created that.
Yeah.
There's a container for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what we learn is to be our own container and to understand through those kinds of practices in safe spaces is when that can feel appropriate with other people and how much to share. But that sort of editing that's going on where people are holding back how they're really feeling, there's so much suffering in that. And so that's where I'm kind of like, yes and no, because it needs to be opened up just gently for people to understand on a grander scale that it's okay for us to be here as we are. We don't have to completely, expose ourselves to other people, especially people that can't be there for us. But without the communication, we're never going to get there, you know, because we need to find that ability for it to be okay to share things like that in, you know, chats over tea, and, you know, it's
Presence.
just, yes.
Real connection in like live time as opposed to,
Yeah.
That human connection piece is really key.
Yeah. And we're in such a state of falseness with social media. It's
Right.
so one dimensional. You know, you see one side of people. I mean,
Right.
I feel like that too because I mean, for what I put out, I intentionally try to put out things that will either be informative or somehow uplift somebody else, or share in a real estate sense. I have to share listings, you know, so I will share that. But I hear people say to me, "Oh, looks like your life's going so well. I can tell by social media." And I'm like, "Really? I mean,
It's just a small percentage.
everybody,
Right.
like, I'm not going to put my arguments on there or like the stuff I'm really struggling. Like if it's something that I can share that I'm really struggling with, I will share about that. But I'm not going to share about all the little things because, like you were just mentioning, you have to be mindful of who you open up and share that stuff too. So you want to have a safe space, but
And I don't, that you have to decide whether that's a safe space for you.
yeah.
I think for a lot of people it is.
But for people to be able to have that human connection over a cup of tea and be seen and be held and not fixed, that's something that I always have to work on in myself. Like I'm a fixer and a doer, so if somebody has something going on, I'm inside revving up. What can I do? What can I do? And there's that art of holding space, and I've worked on that for years, years. And one friend actually commented recently how good I was at holding space, and I'm like, it was such a huge compliment because I intentionally tried not to jump in and fix where I couldn't fix anything that time anyway. But
Yeah. I mean, that really is the essence of unconditional love, because we're not asking people to change.
yeah, yeah.
Over the last several weeks at church, they've been talking about every single week has been a different day of the week of Holy Week of Jesus' story. And they've been highlighting the doing versus the being. And how it was always in the being, never in the doing, that you experience that unconditional, perfect love and grace.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful.
presence is very important. So you are teaching mindfulness to people and doing like spiritual coaching. Can you kind of speak to that a bit and share how that looks and what inspired you to do that?
Yeah, I mean, this has just been a natural progression from stage to stage. As I was mentioning before, that I started to see these patterns in people that were repeating, and I started seeing, you know, we need to go to the heart of these deeper issues for people, and that has to do with limited beliefs. And, you know, then as time went on with my own experience, I began learning that, you know, we really need to learn to train our mind.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I help people to do. I help people to identify how is their mind operating, and then disidentify with all that chatter that's going on up there. And it shows up in different ways for different people. The work is really curated. All the work that I do is curated for people, for where they're at in their experience. And for some people, they're very new to these things, and so we're just listening to the mind and learning to feel feelings and those types of things. And it's as if I'm helping a busy mind to learn to slow down over time. But then there's other people that are more evolved in these kinds of practices, and so they might come to me where they're ready to embrace their spiritual gifts, or they are noticing that they're sensitive, they're picking up on people's feelings and things like that, and they don't know what to do with all of that. And so then I help them to learn to work with that as well.
How do you do that in your own life since you're
That's hilarious. My mouth was opening.
And 90-minute now.
I was going to ask.
Exactly.
I was going to ask how she, in her own life, does she practice self-care? That was my next question. That's amazing.
Okay, so these are two different questions.
Yeah,
which
two different questions.
which
Go with Lacey's.
So, how do I work with empathing?
Just you're working with people so closely on a daily basis, day in and day out. How do you I don't want to use the word protect, but
Nurture.
Mm-hmm.
Nurture
I
your
don't have
own
a
self.
word for what I'm trying to say, but how do you handle the influx of so many other people's energy on so many different deep levels, I guess?
So,
because you're dealing physically, spiritually, emotionally, all the things.
What does your self-care practice look like?
there is so much to that, and it's, meditation, daily meditation, 45 minutes of meditation every morning is how I begin the day. And meditation has just brought so much to my life. And also, I need to be strong to do my job, so I work out, but that's a whole nother kind of meditation.
But it's very relevant and real and powerful.
Exactly. And I work with my spirit guides while I'm working out, and that's another conversation. But, it's like everything is this conscious presence practice. But I'm in a observation of self. I'm present with self. And I am making sure that I'm not taking on other people's issues. Like, people come here and we unpack bags together, but I make sure that we pack them up and they take them with them when they go.
That's such a beautiful analogy.
Yeah.
I love that.
I also want to mention, though, just because I think it would help listeners, that you were talking about allowing plenty of time between appointments.
Yeah, so I usually have at least an hour between each massage. If it's like an hour session, then there's an hour. But if it's 90 minutes, then there's 90 minutes. And it's because I need to recenter, I need to clear my energy, do Reiki on myself, and just make sure that I'm fueled and that I'm never rushing myself. So after a client leaves, I'm not just immediately like cleaning the sheets and, going through that process. I'm allowing myself to come back to me and back in service to me.
That's so important. We need to put that part in the clip. It's so
that's
important.
Really good. I love how intentional you are with everything that you're doing, and I can feel a sense of grounded presence.
Yeah.
In your presence. So that intentionality that you're bringing is really essential.
It is. It's crucial. We all hear the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. But man, did I try for years,
Every single one of us.
And I'm a very, very strong person, and I can take on a lot. And I always tell my clients, just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should.
Absolutely.
And so...
Are you looking at me on purpose?
No.
I think you're getting a message.
Yeah, she just got like a wink from spirit. Yeah, and so it's just... that is why the work is so potent. Is because I'm practicing what I preach. And that has taken years to really hone that and trust it. And it is absolutely beautiful the way our lives unfold when we just learn to love our own heart and to trust ourselves and to know that we are a part of this. Like, we are God. We are everything. Yeah, it's amazing. And so every element of all the kind of work that I do, and really even just in how I relate with other people, it's all coming from that divine awareness of worthiness.
Worthiness is a powerful one.
I am just vibrating from there, and it's really my intention to be a good example of how to be a good human. We're all imperfect, we're all people.
Very messy.
Yeah, we're human. Exactly. Um, but, all those things are opportunities. Every single thing that we experience, it's something for us to look at and say, oh, how did I feel about that? Do I want to make a shift in our perspective? And it can be really fun that way.
Well, and that goes back to training the mind, because our world is so set up that we just distract ourselves. It's so easy to distract ourselves. It's the harder thing to stop and to pause and to look within.
Totally.
And to ask yourself these questions. But when you do, the benefits are priceless.
Yeah.
And they change people's lives.
Really does. The way that the energy shows up for me, that's very unique, it seems, to my work. And that does come from this place of so much trust in the universe, really. And it's because we're in this experience where we're, as awakening, beings, we know that we're all interconnected. We know this specialness. But there's like a grander dimensionality to that, where it's this collective mind of the universe that we're a part of. And really this, it's like God is not only the universe, it's multiverse. It's very, very vast, more than we can really conceive with our human mind, which is the antenna of this time-space reality. But when you start allowing that kind of a perspective, then there's these beings that begin interacting. And so when I'm doing energy work, this is not at all me. It is teams of these beings that are working on all of our behalf. And that's what I mean by it is so beautiful, because these archangels and guides and people's ancestors and things that I'm looking at from parallel lifetimes, which a lot of people call past lifetimes, but there's no other time than now. And they are so in service to us. It's unbelievable how much there is. And so not only am I interacting with all these different dimensional spaces and being able to see these things, when I'm looking at a person's body, I'm being able to see that energy on a quantum level. And so I can see the way the energy is moving through the chakras. I can see the way that trauma might be stored in the body. And I can see if that trauma is coming from this lifetime, or if it's coming from another lifetime, or if it's like generations that it's been passing down. And that is what this presence that we're talking about really allows, is that stepping out of the way and allowing this energy to flow. It just gives such a brilliancy to being able to be in absolute awe and to feel so humble, really honored and privileged to even be in the position to be holding space for people in this way. It is beyond a gift that there are no words that could ever contain how absolutely beautiful this is. And that ability to see like that, that's happening even with the physical massage. It's such the way that I can see the muscles and the tissue and the way that things are sitting, and feel with other people what their body is carrying and what it's been through. So the release that happens for people is so powerful. And that goes on in coaching too, where Reiki is always present. And it's a transmission of presence. We, as these vibrational beings, one frequency being pure and clear, it allows other frequencies to level up to it and match, and it clarifies that energy. And so me practicing my soul coming into these levels of awareness and holding this vibration, it's not only clarifying my own life, this business, but anyone that I interact with. And that, it sounds like that would be something that is egotistic, that it's like, oh, I have this power. And it's like, no, the reason why it's so powerful is because I'm in total devotion and
surrender.
yes, total love with life.
It also seems like you're a physical channel.
Yeah, I'm very much a dancer, and I can feel the energy. Like, it's very hard to describe. It's like we're existing in, it's almost as if we're in water and we just don't realize it. We're just surrounded by this energy, this love. And so, yeah, there's this natural want to flow with it.
It's so beautiful.
So beautiful. I wondered, so when we did our session, we had some really powerful and intense stuff come up. Is there a way, and I think we maybe did this a little bit, it's such a blur to me now. Is there a process that you also do where the ancestors come in, but maybe the souls of your current family and some of those lessons might be brought to the surface during a session?
Yeah, that definitely happens. There's, to some extent, we can't have too much expectation around any session because the intention is for the highest good of the individual. So what needs to express is what's going to express. And sometimes that is deeper than people are expecting. And so then it puts you into this whole different process of, oh, I wonder why that came up. Kind of feeling into the significance of why that's communicating that way. But also, that's how that's showing up in different kinds of sessions, like the Reiki Soul Sage. It's very intensive, where you can come in with a particular intention to say, I would really like to spend some time talking with these family members that have passed on, or with awareness about different things that I'm dealing with right here, right now. And then I can look at those things more directly. This is the way that those deeper things show up, is that it's guiding me to what is needed for that person to be able to open up in this now, to be able to embrace more of their true self. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like what is meant to come up in that moment in time for the highest good. It's not like let's have a past life regression and find out who such and such was and what role they played. Or funny, one of my past life regressions, I was asking a lot of those questions, like, well, who was so and so, and they were called the masters, and they were getting frustrated with me because they wanted me to like get to the point of like what's going to serve this session we have, not just like who is so and so.
Yeah, I mean, a long time ago I stopped saying past lives and I just started saying parallel lives, because we're one soul that has many different facets, but people get a little too caught up in that past life stuff, I find. And it's like, this life is the most significant one. This is the one we're living. And anything that you do in this life in conscious awareness, it affects the whole.
I think of it like a kaleidoscope. When you look in a kaleidoscope and you can see one thing, but it's like fractals of it, but it looks different. That's how I see it.
Yeah. I mean, if we are all made of the same thing, and so then we're all one being, then whatsoever I do for myself, I do for the all. Yeah, I mean, it's so beautiful. And to live with that kind of intentionality, it is so incredible the way that life just shows up for us. And it's always there. We just have to
Life is happening
look.
for us, not to us.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yep. Even if we can't understand it in the moment,
Well, and
it'll come.
That's what I love about mindfulness is that when we can come in this present moment, there's so much to gain in terms of gratitude. We have a breath, we have a body, we have friends, we have tea, we have a roof over our head, we have beautiful nature. Like the list goes on and on and on and on. But when we stay in our minds, we create all kinds of sufferings, and then we feel them in the body, and they manifest in a multitude of different ways. But mindfulness allows us to remember to come back.
It's so true. And, to also be able to be present with all the sorrows as well, and that all of it is a gift. And that being able to really pull that awareness from that difficulty and see how everything that shows up in my experience is teaching me. And sometimes it's more, forceful than we would like it to be.
Like your car accident.
Exactly. But, I would never, tell anybody like, go get a brain injury. That's a terrible thing to say, but it really served me because I had a very strong mind, and it needed that force in order for me to learn to let go. But, people we're going through so many things as humans. We are really asked to be courageous, to be human. And I don't feel like that's said enough, that it takes courage to lead a life, any life. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I used to tell my kids to be kind and compassionate. I still tell them that, but I still now say you need to be strong and courageous, especially as teenagers. It's a difference.
Yeah, courage is that which you do despite your fear.
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, I could talk to you for another couple hours, but I know we need to be mindful of the time too. And yeah, it's been quite an awesome conversation, and I'm so excited to continue the conversation here at the end of the month.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
It's going to be a special morning. I'm so looking forward to having everybody come into your space. And I hope they make the trek from some of the other parts of Austin.
It's not that far.
It's not.
It's really not. Just take the loop.
It's so worth it. So worth it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's really my pleasure.
Thanks for sharing and going deep and sharing about all of the growth and the learning.
Yeah. What a beautiful conversation.
Yeah.
Well, cheers to being courageous and to listening to your soul voice and to sharing so many amazing gifts of healing with this world. We're so in gratitude to you and to the work that you're doing in the world and all the people that you're helping. And hopefully so many more will now come because they've seen and heard your compassionate heart.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Angela Piccione. Thank you guys for watching. Cheers. Cheers. Yay. Oh, I love it.